Hello and welcome to Dawn Chorus Writes, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction, and to the series Meeting Under the Stars. This is chapter 11, so make sure you smash that like button, subscribe below. If you haven't already and you got to chapter 11, what are you waiting for? And if you haven't listened to any of the other previous chapters, they're all listed below, so go out and check them out. And yeah, comment down below what you think of it so far. I love to read your comments, so enjoy. Chapter 11. Adrien laid on his side, using his arm as a pillow. The sunlight streamed through the window and shone onto his bare hand, shielding his eyes. This felt strange. A good strange. He wasn't wearing all black. He wasn't sneaking out in the middle of the night. He was where he was meant to be, next to his lady, waiting for her to wake. He was where he hoped to be for the rest of his life, if one day she said yes. Okay, slow down, one step at a time, and yet he knew she was the one for him, and he would wait until that one perfect day. He knew in that moment he would ask this breathtaking lady next to him to spend forever with him. Because last night he had confessed being in love with her, and she had revealed loving him for 6 years. They could have been together if they hadn't been so stupid and not seen what was in front of him. Last night felt like the stars had aligned and brought them together. And yet, what about the other half of himself? What about Chat? Since she had kissed Chat, he never expected any of it to happen. He knew he hadn't been fair on Marinette, visiting her like that before the party as Chat, but part of him wanted that connection one last time. But when he had seen her in the dress and spending an evening with Adrien, Chat had to step back once and for all. Well, until he can find the words to tell her that he knows that she is Ladybug and that he is Chat. Does he wait until Adrien and Marinette are settled as a couple before he drops the bombshell, or does he tell her sooner and hope that their love, which has lasted the highs and lows of the last 6 years, can survive the fact that he, as Adrien and Chat, been forming different relationships with Marinette, knowing that she is Ladybug? However, there was a niggling feeling he couldn't ignore. As far as he was aware, Marinette doesn't know that Chat and Adrien are the same person. So when she had kissed Chat the other night, and the private moments of him curled up in her bed, is there also a part of her in love with Chat too? In her heart, is she in love with 2 men? And which one does she love more? As he brushed away some of the fringe that had draped over her eyes, Marinette stirred a little and edged closer to him, back into the nook of his arms. "Morning, you stayed," she muttered, still half asleep. "Of course I did. We're having breakfast together and then spending the rest of the day crafting the best designs for your presentation." Adrien gathered her closer into his arms as she ran her fingers over his shirt. Her eyes popped open as the events of last night filtered back into her head and glanced down at her, still wearing her princess dress. He hated the sudden thought that appeared in his mind. Had she woken expecting Chat? It was Adrien in her bed next to her, not Chat. Adrien. Some might forgive her for mistaking the 2 men. This part of her relationship with Adrien was new. What on earth did she sound like? Confusing the 2 men? She wasn't that person. Yes, for a while she had got muddled about her feelings for Chat, but she loved Adrien. She had done for the last 6 years, and the way he had kissed her, confessed his feelings, had been perfect. Focus on that, Marinette. Focus on Adrien. Is everything okay? He scooped her up closer against him and lifted her face so that he could see the millions of questions pouring through her mind. Yes, of course. More than okay. Last night was amazing. Crazy. Everything. She gave him a soft smile, watching it mirroring on his face. I meant what I said. I love you. He leaned in a little closer, his fingers skimming across her skin on her neck, causing the electric sensation she had felt last night to return. I love you too, Adrien. Her hands cupped his cheeks, feeling the stubble breaking through compared to his usual smoothness. It reminded her of Chat, of the night he had cried in her arms. No, focus on Adrien. He is the one, in your arms, here and now. With Chat, there is no future, but Adrien, she could see a lifetime spread out in front of them. He leaned in and kissed her slowly with such tenderness, then gave way to deeper passion, pushing their bodies and souls together. She did love Adrien. She was kissing Adrien, and he loved her. All these years, if only one of them had taken the single step out of friendship into this. They naturally pulled apart, feeling dizzy and breathless. Wow. Adrien breathed into her ear, clinging his arms around her waist as one stroked its way to her shoulder, outlining her curves and indents. The word, how he said it, brought forth an image of Chat zipping up her dress and the comparison of his gloved hand against Adrien's bare fingertips. Marinette needed a moment. She needed to breathe. Why does Chat keep popping into her head whilst she is having a moment with Adrien? She loved Chat as a partner, not this. It can't be this. Coffee? I'm going to go and get some tea and some freshly baked goodness. Marinette rolled out of his hold. I'll help. No, thank you. My parents love you, but finding you had spent the night might be too much for them. She raised her eyebrows at him. Plus, I want to get out of this dress. It was Adrien's turn to raise his eyebrows. No, down, kid. Boy, I want to get something comfy on. She playfully pushed him back whilst turning her head. What had almost happened? She took a deep breath, composing herself. I might... She raised her hand up and running her fingers through the air, thinking, I do. I have a set of your gym bottoms and then the hoodie from lending it that time. I'll get them for you. She slid down the bed and climbed out. She felt his arm reach out to her. Thank you. The yearning to kiss her was evident on his face, but she needed to breathe her to get her head straight. This wasn't fair on him, nor herself. I'll be straight back. She gave him a playful smile. Before heading out of the trapdoor, she grabbed the hoodie out of the chest of drawers, and then the bottoms from a shelf in the cupboard. She heard him drop down the ladder behind her as she held out the clothing for him. She couldn't help her eyes widen as he took his shirt off, exposing the evidence of their morning workouts on his adult body. A heat rose up inside of her, emitting onto her cheeks, causing Adrien to laugh. Not fair! Pulling your former model moves on me, mister? Put this on! She turned her gaze from him, unable to compose herself. Why are you blushing? He chuckled, taking the top from her outstretched hands. There. Better? I'm just not With Shat, he was covered in a black onesie. There was never this issue. We'll take it slow. We have forever together. I'm not going anywhere. He stepped closer as she turned back round to face him. Forever? She whispered as he nodded his head, leaning in for another kiss. After a minute, she paused. I had better here, but wait until I'm gone, she said, giggling, handing him the bottoms as the largest cheeky grin spread across his lips. She grabbed some clothes out of the drawer, not looking at what, her mind distracted by the man behind her, and made her way down the stairs. After a shower, feeling more refreshed, she made up a coffee for Adrien and a tea for herself with some treats on the side. She was wearing a pair of yoga pants and a baggy knitted jumper that hung off her shoulder. Her hair was still damp, but she would dry it in a while. There was no rush. Back in her room, she laid down the tray and stared at Adrien, lying down on the chaise and reading a magazine, looking quite at home. She smiled until the memory of the exact pose of Shat on the chaise, hanging out while she finished off her project. Today was going to be a long day if she kept comparing Shat to Adrien. No, it's not. No. Hey, coffee? She held up a steaming mug for him. He stood in front of her, hands stretched out, but his face held an expression she had seen before, but not on his face, on Shat's. His gaze kept shifting from her jumper to her face and wet hair round in a circle. Putting the mug back on the tray, she stepped forward. Adrien hadn't seen this jumper before. She knew that as a fact, but Shat had. Not realizing it was the same one she had worn that night, standing in the rain, kissing him. She said nothing. One thought crashed into another inside her mind. No, it's not possible. He wouldn't. He couldn't. No. She ignored the fear forming across his face. She had to know. Leaning forward, she cupped his face and kissed him softly, eyes closed, and took in everything. His sound, his scent, his feeling. She knew it, knew him. It hadn't been her, it'd been him. No. She stepped back, eyes closed. Shat? She said with a voice that was barely audible. Thank you for listening to chapter 11 of Meeting Under the Stars. I know I just couldn't give them that moment, could I? Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe so you do not miss out on chapter 12, which will be coming out soon, and comment down below what you think and what's going to happen next. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.